All right. Hopefully y'all can see me because this is about to be a raw, unedited video. I'm about to give y'all a full spiel, full breakdown of how just my story, how I overcame all my insecurities, how I went from this attractive guy, but still struggling with women, still struggling with my self-worth and my confidence, going through heartbreak, going through hardship, just going through adversity, and how I used all those things as fuel to get me to exactly where I am today. And you want to make sure that you stick around to the end of this video because I have a very, very, very special treat for y'all. So let's just go ahead and hop into it. Now, first things first, I do want to have a simple disclaimer for all of my subscribers who have been here, wondering where I've been. This video is going to explain all those things. Just bear with me. I am back. Excuse me, for my absence. But I'm back and I'm better with way more clarity than ever in terms of this channel, the future for this channel, the plans that I have. So y'all are part of this journey. I appreciate all the day ones who are still here, the day ones who are wondering where I've been, all those different type of things. But if this is your first time seeing this video, then this will be a proper introduction as to just basically what this account is all about and basically who I am. So I'm 22 years old. My birthday is actually in 2 weeks, actually. So I'm about to be 23, but let's just fast forward back to around 2017, right? I'm gonna give y'all the full story, so don't think that this is about to be some 10-minute video. You need to sit down, get somewhere. You probably need to take out a notebook and take some notes because I'm about to change your life with this video if you listen and take action. So going back to 2017, this was probably one of the, I ain't gonna say worst, but one of the most difficult years that I've had in my life thus far. So a lot of things happened in 2017 that we're going to talk about. And they were all simultaneous. This is kind of crazy. So if I get them kind of out of order, just bear with me, but they're all around the same time. So back in 2017, I was in the 10th grade. Now I played basketball in 9th grade at the school that I went to. I ended up not making the team 10th grade year as I retried out. So I transferred schools. And so when I went to this new school, I was only there strictly because I wanted to play basketball. Like all of my closest friends were still at the first school that I went to my freshman year. So I wasn't really looking to, make new friends and stuff like that. But long story short, I ended up getting onto the team. I was playing JV. Things were going good. I feel like I was at the peak of my skills. So there was this one particular practice. I'm already starting off wrong. I'm skipping a part. So I had this childhood best friend growing up because I'm getting these two things mixed up. So I had this childhood best friend growing up. And so long story short, he ended up getting into this car accident and he ended up passing away on October the 11th of this year. So I want to say this year was 2017. So he ended up passing on October the 11th. And so fast forward back to the basketball scenario, right? So that's just to kind of preface this. That was already something that I was battling with that was just fresh, right? This was the first real death in the experience that this was the first real death in the family that had a super, super toll on me, right? Because this is one of my childhood best friends. We grew up together. We did everything together. This is like my best friend. It's like my brother. Like it was oftentimes that I literally called him like my cousin or something like that, just because he was that close to me. He was basically family. So yeah, he ended up dying in a car accident on October the 11th. He succumbed to his injuries. And so fast forwarding back to me playing basketball and stuff like that, there was this one particular practice on October the 23rd. And so everything went smooth within the practice. Like I was hooping like it was nothing. Like there was no soreness, no pain, no nothing like that. Now, had I been doing like any type of real stretching or, strength training, anything like that? No, I'm just a hooper. I get on the court, I stretch a little bit, warm up, and I just get to hooping. And I've had no problems, no prior injuries, no anything like that. But long story short, the entire practice went smoothly. So I was already basically dunking, grabbing rim was not a challenge for me. I could grab my vertical, I was just the strength of my vertical jump. So it was just two of my friends after practice. They were like, you know how you run from the 3-point line. You try to run, you're trying to grab the rim. So they were doing that and I just kind of joined in, right? Like I said, I was already basically dunking. Like I had the vertical to dunk. I was just working on the fundamentals of actually dunking, right? So I took it upon myself, please do not do this. But I took it upon myself to run and basically that last hash mark right before the free throw line? So that's basically where I took off from. Do I have a ball in my hand? No. What am I trying to do? I'm just simply trying to grab the rim. So long story short, I basically am running, right? And I plant my feet somewhere like where that hash mark is, the last hash mark before the free throw line. So I'm super far from the goal, just trying to do, just trying to just basically fly at this point, thinking I'm MJ and grab the rim. It's not what happened. So basically, something went wrong with the way that I planted my feet and exploded up. Because as soon as I planted my feet, I exploded up a little bit, but I instantly fell back down. And so I looked at my right knee, and it was like going inward. And so I immediately knew something was not right, but I just like looked away. So I only got a quick glimpse of what my knee looked like, but I knew that your knee is not supposed to look like that. Your leg's not supposed to bend like that. So long story short, like my assistant coach literally came up to me. He looked at me just like this. Like he literally mouthed it just like that. And so they escorted all the other players. Like keep in mind, this is after practice. So we just supposed to be literally going home. But all the players got escorted. Long story short, the ambulance had to come stretcher me out. It was a crazy situation because both my mom and my dad were like out of town doing completely different, doing their own thing, right? But they was just both out of town. So it was literally just, my grandparents who I was with. So my grandmother, she ended up basically coming and assisting me and stuff like that. But long story short, I broke my knee, bro. Trying to beat MJ and just run and grab the rim from super, super far back, I end up breaking my knee. And like I said, my best friend had just passed away 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. I just broke my knee. I had to have emergency surgery the next day. You get what I'm saying? So I'm kind of going through all these things. And I can't remember exactly when this happened, but it was literally around the same time frame. So there was this girl that I was dating from basically like somewhere in around 8th grade all the way up until like the beginning of 10th grade year, right? So we were dating for a long time. We was, we went to the same middle school. We ended up going to the same high school freshman year, and we was just together. Like I completely loved this girl. I was head over heels with this girl. You couldn't tell me nothing, right? That was the one for me at the time, right? And so, when you're young, you don't really understand women. You just go and run with the things that you're taught. So you can kind of get the idea of kind of how I interacted with her. I was this nice guy. I was needy. I was a simp. I was insecure, controlling, telling her always zip up her jacket, do this, that, and the third. Why you wearing this? Who you texting? Let me see your Snapchat. Just basic insecurities just showing in my actions, right? Never wanted to be apart from her. Always wanted to be around her. Always wanted to do things with her, spend time with her, go to sleep on the phone. My whole world revolved around her. Long story short, as soon as I basically transferred schools, things started to get rough. We ended up breaking up, right? So I was dealing with that heartbreak. So yeah, we ended up breaking up and it was cool. It was supposed to be this mutual agreement that we was going to break up, right? But it never really happens like that. So basically I ended up figuring out some type of information or something like that through the grapevine that basically in the midst of us, like right before we broke up, I'm just paraphrasing at this point, but somewhere down the line, somebody ended up basically smashing her, right? And so without getting too into detail within that, somewhere, if I remember correctly, it was like the month before we broke up or like a couple months or a little bit before we broke up. But when it happened, we were still together to my knowledge, right? But keep in mind, this was like freshman year, going into sophomore year, stuff like that around that time. So I was not doing like anything with women on a sexual level. Like I had no experience, no badges at all. So when that happened, I already knew inherently, even without like any type of knowledge about women, I knew that I was cooked. So like I said, I found this out after we had already broke up. So once I put the pieces together, I was like, wait. We wasn't broke up when this happened. So this sent me down this super spiral. And this is kind of funny as well. Like this literally happened. Like I found out this information like 11:50. Like this is 10 minutes before the new year, right? That I'm finding out this information. So all throughout 10th grade, I'm basically going through this heartbreak phase. I'm just, going through it. I'm still processing my emotions from losing my best friend. I'm still, I'm bedridden because I just broke my knee. So it's like I'm going through all three of these different things at the same time, bro. Right? This is my 10th grade year. So what am I with? 16 years old. And I'm dealing with all these things, juggling all these things at the same time. You get what I'm saying? And so, I was just going through the process of kind of getting over her. Really wasn't. Like, it was bad for me, bro. It was bad. Like, imagine going through heartbreak. It's one thing to go through heartbreak and you can still live your day-to-day life. But it's another thing to be going through heartbreak and you're just in your room all day. You're in your bed all day. So I'm playing, Juice WRLD. I'm listening to XXX. I'm listening to Drake. I kid you not. As soon as I found out that What happened. The first song that it's crazy how this sequence of events happened, but I'll never forget it, bro. Because my mom and my brother, they was about to get ready to like pop fireworks and stuff. Because keep in mind, when I found this stuff out, it was right before the new year started. So I went into the new year listening to Marvin's Room, crying myself to sleep. Yes, that's what happened. And so basically, let's fast forward to the first pivotal breaking point, or just realization that I had in terms of just changing my situation around, right? So junior year started, and I ended up going back to the school that I went to freshman year, because that was just where I wanted to be. I wanted to be back around my friends. That was just where I felt more comfortable, right? So I ended up going back to this school. Now, the girl in question who broke my heart, we had the same friend group, because keep in mind, a lot of us, we went to the same like middle school as well. So we just basically were going to the same schools with each other. So we had the same friend group. But so this is junior year, right? So keep in mind, sophomore year summer, I'm so like basically down bad behind this girl that I'm like kind of texting her a little bit in the summer, trying to kind of work my way back in. And so a little bit like it was when we first started back talking to each other, it was cool. Like we'd get on the phone a little bit, we'll be texting a little bit. But like as time went by, it was like the interactions was just listening to the point we talk a couple times a day, to the point we talk one time a day, to the point we just weren't talking no more, right? And so what I ended up figuring out, because keep in mind, this is 10th grade summer. So going back into 11th grade, she has a boyfriend already, right? So now I'm just like, okay, I just got finessed. I just fell for the trap. I'm thinking, because she's telling me like, oh, it wasn't a bad relationship. I can see us getting back together. Like these are some of the things that we were talking about in the summer. So how do we get back to the first day of school when you already are in a relationship, right? So that was one thing. But just fast forward and just through those interactions, like with us having the same friend group, like my energy would just completely change when she came around. I get quiet, I start being to myself, I start trying to avoid her, all this different stuff, right? And then one day it literally dawned on me. This girl is moving around as if nothing ever happened, right? Between us. Meaning this is the last thing that's on her mind. She is completely over me. She's completely moved on. So why can't I do the same? She's not being weird and distant and quiet when I come around. Me being around is not stopping her from, coming around and stuff like that. So it just dawned on me and I started doing some reflection. I'm like, why am I allowing this girl to have this much power over me when she's not even worried about me? When I don't even have this much power over her, when I'm not having the same effect that she has on me, on her. So I just started sitting back and thinking like, why am I still soaking in this heartbreak? Why am I still dealing with this? Why am I still going through all this stuff when I don't have to? She's running around here just doing whatever she wants. She got a whole new boyfriend. What am I still being heartbroken for? Right? So things started to change to the point where I took the focus off of her and I started putting the focus on myself. Now, this is not where my self-improvement journey really just started, but this is kind of just putting the pieces back together. You would think that one heartbreak was doing enough damage, but you know how we are as people. We got to go through the same type of scenarios multiple times to really learn the lesson, right? So fast forward to a completely different relationship with a completely different girl. Long story short, it ended up being another waste of time. But I won't really just say it was a waste of time, because all these situations, help with your character development. So I'm glad that I went through these things. But it was another relationship that I went through with a different girl, right? And I had been knowing this girl a long time. Like when we were younger, like middle school days, I was really head over heels for this girl, right? And then so it's just like, it's crazy how long we had been knowing each other to the point where we actually started being together, right? But I was with her for a long time, still. So like all throughout high school, I was not sexually active. I was not, doing the do and getting the reps up. And I wasn't the homeboy talking about how many bodies I had and, that type of stuff. That was not me. So this girl in particular really exploited my insecurity, really exploited my masculinity, really exploited me having to compromise myself for, various reasons. Like just utmost like types of disrespect, calling me out of my name, this, that, and the third, right? So there was this point where we ended up taking a break, because I'm not just gonna go down memory lane with this relationship. It just helped shed light on who I was back then. So I remember this one instance where we ended up taking a break. Now, y'all know my philosophy on breaks if you've been watching my content, but we'll leave that there. We ended up taking a break. And so, as we were basically recovering from the break, I can't remember how long it was. Maybe it was like somewhere upwards of a week. It wasn't too long, but we ended up taking a break, right? So one day I guess I ended up pulling up on her and we started like basically talking about, we just started catching up with each other basically. And so I don't know if she went to it or like if I just seen it being nosy, but I seen that she had like her FaceTime log basically, right? And one of the calls was from her ex and another call was some random dude who I've never even known about. And so right then and there in that moment, because we was like sitting in the car just talking to each other, something told me to just leave. Something told me like, okay, that's your sign right there, just leave. But I didn't leave. I still was interacting with her, you know, stuff like that. And we stayed together or whatever the case may be, whatever happened. And so long story short, once I ended up going to college, because keep in mind, I was interacting with this girl and stuff like that, like my senior year. And so once I got upwards of going to college, that's basically when everything really started to shift for me. And so basically this is going to get into phase 2. So that was phase 1, just 2 kind of relationships that kind of just set the tone for me as a man, right? Those were, I can tie a lot of lessons to that. And so basically, like going back to that second relationship briefly here, the lessons I learned was just like, wow, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't have real true masculinity and confidence within yourself, certain women, if not most women, if not all women, are going to exploit that, right? The insecurities, they'll exploit it, right? Your lack of masculinity and assertiveness and dominance, they will exploit that. You know what I'm saying? So those were some things that I just realized looking back, like I accepted just way too much disrespect. I just accepted way too many things that a real relationship wouldn't have included in that, right? And so y'all remember what happened during 2020. That's the year that I graduated. So we had the virus and stuff like that going on. So we was at the crib. And so while I was at the crib, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I was just scrolling through my Instagram one day and I saw one of these, somebody I know, he posted this picture. And it was a picture of like, it was a screenshot of a stethoscope video. And so it's not like, it was just a screenshot. So I just see the stethoscope.com, like how it used to be like in his older videos. And I don't think the caption that he made was like anything related to, Stethoscope as a creator, but something just told me, look him up, right? So as soon as I looked him up, bro, if you know, you know, that right there is the initial starting point of phase 2. Because in 2020, I was already kind of like going through my spiritual journey. I was watching a lot of spiritual soul, like I was watching spiritual soul every day. And then I added Stethoscope into that. So basically, I was the walking embodiment of just spiritual soul and stethoscope. So when I'm just basically at my crib during quarantine, I'm literally outside sun gazing. I'm, doing these at-home workouts all day. I'm just working on myself. This is my real, actual first phase of actual self-improvement. I was done with the Heartbreak. I was on NoFap. But prior to me, being on NoFap and stuff like that, I was, a couple times a day, right? I was down bad with it. And so I realized that all those things have to change. And I didn't want to be that version of myself who let women control my life. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I started working out every single day, sun gazing, working on my mindset, watching these stethoscope videos every day, learning about women. And that is what kind of basically skyrocketed my self-improvement journey. And then fast forward to basically college. So since I wasn't really around anybody during quarantine, I didn't really, know how much progress I made. And like I said, I was just doing at-home workouts. I'd be doing like 250 push-ups a day. I'd lift some dumbbells here and there and just basically make do with what I had at home. But as I got to college, I was like, getting back around my friends and stuff like that. And they was like, whoa, you look like you've been in jail. You look like you toned up a little bit. So now I'm like, okay, the fruits of my labor actually are paying off. Because, when you look at yourself in the mirror every single day, when you got a pump, you're not really going to be able to see your progress, right? Because I was the type of person, I couldn't stay out of the mirror. But as a result of that, I kind of had some confidence boosted up, right? So keep in mind, I started watching a lot of content and I started, doing the working out stuff, but I still didn't have the experience with women. So let's go ahead and talk about my college life. College life was very short. I was only in college for half a semester, but it went something like this. So when I got to college, I was already, engulfed in the stethoscope content, the red pill content, learning about female nature. I was also watching the spirituality content with spiritual soul. So my mindset is already transitioning and I'm already, in this frame of understanding things on a deeper level. prior to getting into college. So when I get to college, I had some internal confidence built up, but it was still only to a certain point, right? So it was just basically internal confidence because I was learning new things and I, toned my muscles up a little bit. So I get to college, basically I had some, like literally this was probably like the first day I went to college. There was this super bad chick, bro. There was a super bad chick. So there was this guy that I ended up meeting like the first day or the first night I was in college. And basically his cousin wanted to talk to me or something like that. But it was just something off about it. I'm gonna be honest. It was something off about the situation, how he presented it. And I didn't really know him like that to be like, I'm gonna come to your dorm room, this, that, and the third. It was just something about it that seemed like a setup. So I was just like, nah, I'm not really gonna go, this, that, and the third. But long story short, I figured out that scenario, she was really feeling me, that I was just, he was just kind of trying to throw a lob. But so that ended up being one girl that I fumbled. But long story short, there was this other girl in college. She was in my dorm room, bro. She came there strictly for me. She didn't even go to the college. She came there for me. She's in my bed. And what do? Absolutely nothing. Like the opportunity is there for me to go with my move, do everything. You know, bro. Do what you're supposed to do. But I didn't do nothing. I'm just sitting there overthinking. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? She still ends up spending a night. And what do I try to do the next day? Start going with my move like 30 minutes before she wrapping up and about to leave. So that's another fumble. Another girl ended up pulling up, fumbled her too. Another girl fumbled her too. So I had like 5-6 fumbles just all together in college, right? All because I didn't have the experience and I had all this knowledge, but without the experience, it's like, it's nothing, right? And I still had that internal level of like insecurity, like scared of what to do, knowing what to do. You know how you know what to do with a girl? Like she's sitting right there in your face, you know what to do, but you're scared to do it. That was basically the position that I was in college. Because now it's like, you've been working out, you're physically attractive. Like a girl is gonna look at you and she's gonna find you attractive, bro. You present yourself like that, right? Because I'm toned up a little bit. I'm super confident, so I'm walking around campus like in a muscle shirt. I'm showing off with muscles and stuff like that. So, because it was never inherently like I struggled with women because of my looks. I struggled with women because of my lack of self-worth, my lack of confidence, and my lack of just experience, right? So then when I started learning what to do, it was a whole other phase that I had to get through of like actually doing it. And so that was 2020. And so I don't really remember if this was already 2021 or towards the end of 2020, but it had to be 2021 already. But 2021 is when basically the year of like things started to click for me in terms of me getting experience with women. Now I'm not gonna go into too many of those details, but basically I started getting my experience up. I started dating around and I started basically figuring out myself and stuff like that, right? I was still self-improving. I was working this job and I basically had a rotation a little bit, right? So I was dealing with a couple of women here and there, things of that nature. And there was still something inherently missing though, right? There was still something missing because as soon as I came to the conclusion in college, because I didn't really tell y'all basically why I only went to college for a semester. So let's backtrack a little bit. Like I said, bear with me. This is gonna be a long video because I realize I still got so much more to talk about. So if you still here, make sure you drop a like make sure you just drop a like down below. But the reason that I dropped out of college is simply because I came to the realization that I was in college for the wrong reasons. For one, I was in college because my parents wanted me to go to college. More importantly, like my mama, she wanted me to go to college, right? And also I was going to college for kinesiology because I thought that I wanted to be a physical therapist. But what I actually figured out was that I only liked the physical aspect of, physical therapy, like helping somebody go from injury to back to like, going through the motions, doing their thing, because I went through that process myself and I started to enjoy the process of physical therapy. But me being in the doctor's office, doing all this paperwork, doing all the other stuff outside of just working with patients, you can cancel Christmas, you can just say goodbye. That's not me. And so I sat with myself and I'm like, man, what do I want to do? And I came up with, I wanted to be a content creator and I wanted to start a clothing brand. We'll talk about that later. But predominantly I wanted to be a content creator, right? And so mixing that in and going back with the clothing brand, I was like, I want to be a content creator and I want to be a clothing brand owner. And so I made a challenge with myself to basically come up with my first 5 designs by the next break. And I think that the next break was like Thanksgiving. Yeah, the next break coming up when I was about to go back home to my crib. was Thanksgiving. And so by Thanksgiving, if not, sometime before this, I came up with all 5 of those designs. And that was like confirmation that I'm on the right track. So then I get back home and I make my first ever YouTube video. Y'all can still go back to my first ever video and find it. It's still there. That's what started my overall journey right then and there. And ever since then, it was nothing but sheer consistency. So let's talk about the content creation journey now. This is phase 3. So phase 1 is just weak, insecure, going through heartbreak with women, lacking confidence, all those types of things. Phase 2 was basically me getting into my self-improvement journey. The early stages of self-improvement, the early stages of getting experience with women. Now, phase 3 is gonna start content creation, right? So I get out of college, so now I'm back at my mom's crib. You know how this go, bro. If you've been in this situation, you know. You're not just finna be in your mama crib, just dropped out of college, and you just sitting around all day. You got to get you a job. So I had me a job, right? But I worked at this job. It was like delivering like groceries, right? And so basically what that means is you follow a route every single day. You're going to different places, dropping off groceries. So with a job like that, you can't estimate what time you're gonna get off. You know what I'm saying? Because you go in at different times and you're gonna get off at different times. So you can't really predict it. But long story short, basically the mentality that I had was, regardless of what time I get home, I'm gonna make a YouTube video at the end of the day and I'm gonna post it and I'm gonna do that every single day. So I started making content every single day. I get off work, I'll make me some content. It would be some days I get off work super, super late. I'd be so drove, but I'll still go in there and make some content, right? I was so embedded and I had so much belief in myself to make this content creation thing work that there was like 2 instances like that happened back to back at this job that I was working at. And so long story short, 2 things happened to the point I was like, man, this ain't it, bro. This ain't it. Because I think that I worked like over 12 hours. I think I worked the threshold of how many hours you're supposed to work within a day, right? And then they wanted me to come back the next day. And they was like, it's going to be a short load. It's going to be a half day, I didn't care about none of that. I'm like, bro, I'm not coming back. So I ended up quitting. My mama, bro, she lost it. Because like, I was blessed to be able to get onto this job. This job helped me, get my first car and stuff like that. So it was an opportunity for me, but my mind was elsewhere. And, especially after you add these different types of stuff that you can't control, it's like, bro, I wanted my time. I wanted time to be able to, make content, have freedom to do what I wanted to do as soon as I get off work. Not get off work, it's 10 o'clock at night. You got to go to sleep, wake back up at 2:45, be to work at 3. Like, who's doing that, bro? Who's doing that? There is no overtime and there is none of that, bro. So I'm like, what are we doing here? And so basically I ended up quitting that job. But in the midst of this, I'm still making content every single day. And I also, in the midst of this, way before this, I started making TikToks as well. Now, me with TikTok is so funny because I got like a big following on TikTok, but I guarantee you I was one of the last people to have it. Because I thought it was this app that you just make dancing videos on. You've never seen me make a dancing video for a reason, because that's not me. And so that's why it took me a long time to get TikTok. So once I finally actually got TikTok, I wasn't even making videos. But then I seen like my first ever viral video was when they was calling like ashwagandha and makaru, they was calling those glizzy pills. I seen this creator make a video about that. And then, so I had my own supplements already, because I told you I was watching Steph is Cold. So I was already on the makaru and the ashwagandha and stuff like the L-citrulline, L-arginine. I was already on them supplements. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a video. And I'm not thinking like I'm finna go viral and I'm finna do this, I'm finna do that. That's the first video that ever took off for me. And so then I started making this like over exaggerated, like, toxic style content and stuff like that. And it started catching traction. Like I was gaining a couple thousand followers a day. Like I still have the screenshots in my phone. I might put them up if I edit this video a little bit. But there was like a screenshot, it's like, boom, I'm at 10K followers. Boom, like the next day I'm at like 12K. And it's like, it just kept going, right? So I'm like, I'm finna just, keep making content. And so basically the logic behind this content creation process, should I say this right now? I'm not sure. We might need to save that because it took a long time for me to get to that realization to be able to say that right now. But yeah, so I was still making the content. Long story short, the next job that I ended up working at was, UPS. UPS, I was a package handler. If you've ever worked in a warehouse, you know. If you've never worked in a warehouse, stay away. Long story short, bro, that was the worst job I've ever worked at in my life. I will never work UPS again. It's like you got to have 4 arms and 6 eyes and 12 legs to be able to do the type of stuff they wanted you to do. Like they'll explain stuff, but it's like, bro, basically it's like that was the workout. UPS was a workout. And so I worked during like holiday season, and then I told them that I was gonna come back because they wanted me to come back for like regular season. No, I did not go back. Because I was like, am I finna do this? I was like, nah. I was like, I quit a better job to do this. So if I quit that job, I'm finna definitely quit this one. And I quit that one too. Keep in mind, like, the content creation has not really been like paying me money. I'm just getting views and I'm just gaining, building an audience. But I'm still making my content. I'm still doing TikTok. I'm still doing YouTube. And then, so I quit UPS. What's the next job that I had? The next job that I had, I was working overnight at this hotel. And so this is kind of where things start to kind of gain. We started kind of getting into this next phase, right? So this is kind of the last pillar of this phase 3 right here. So I started working this overnight job at this hotel. Basically, I was a shuttle driver. So the hotel was like literally right across the street from the airport. And so there was these truck drivers. So the only two places that I had to go was basically to the airport to take people who was in the hotel to the airport, or pick people up from the airport and take them to the hotel, or go to this trucking stop, which is like probably 10 minutes down the road, pick people up or drop them off there from being in the hotel. So that was my only two locations I was going: the trucking stop or the airport, right? So this was an easy job, right? It's like easy. So in the midst of me just like waiting to have to take somebody somewhere, I'm just on TikTok Live. I'm just like on TikTok Live, talking to people and doing stuff like that, or on YouTube, just finding something to do, because I wasn't trying to fall asleep, right? The last thing you want to do is fall asleep when you're gonna get fired. And so to kind of speed things up and fast forward this situation, there was this girl who started working there, and there was this girl that started working there, and there was this woman who started working at the front desk. So like two new people who started working there after I had already been there, right? And so I was told that they put like a tracker on the truck, on the van, and that you was only supposed to be going to, to the two places, to the hotel, to the airport, and to the trucking stop. If you go anywhere else, this is gonna happen, right? And so one day I get to work. There's this lady at the front desk. I speak to her. I come sit on the couch, just post up in the little corner area because I'm just, chilling. She come over there and tell me, can I go pick up this girl? She ain't got a ride to work. I'm like, I didn't want to drive the van, so I'm like, can I go in my car? She's like, no. So I'm like, the only thing I can do is take the van, right? So I take the van, go pick the girl up, and I don't hear nothing about it. So I'm like, she need a ride to work. I'm doing a courtesy to, bring her to work. She need to work. You told me I can't drive my car. How else am I gonna get there other than using the van, right? So I ended up working my shift after I picked the girl up. Like it was nothing to be heard, no issues, no nothing. At the end of the shift, I went home, didn't hear nothing about it. So I checked the schedule. I tried to check the schedule a little bit later after I was already off and at the crib. And it's like I couldn't log in to like the little hub or whatever to be able to log in and see the schedule. So I'm kind of confused. I'm like, dang, I guess like they took me off the schedule, matter of fact. So I'm like trying to see why they took me off the schedule. And then it's like kind of like 5-10 minutes maybe after I'm looking at it, my boss, she texts me and she like sent me this paragraph. Basically, they fired me because I went and picked the girl up. And so I'm reading the messages and I'm just like, I'm not even finna say nothing. I'm not even finna try to plead my case. I'm just like, man, it is what it is. And so after that moment right there, that's what's gonna transition into like what phase we on? We in phase 4. So that's what transitioned into phase 4, me getting fired from this job. Now phase 4 is basically take the risk. We're gonna call phase 4 take the risk. Why? Because at that point, I didn't really know what was gonna happen next for me. Because I didn't know where I was gonna work next. I didn't know where the money was gonna be coming from. I had a car that I had to pay for that I was struggling with already at the time because the hotel job wasn't enough for the car. The UPS wasn't even enough for the car. So you know what I'm saying? So I was already struggling as it is. And so I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was still making my content though. I still had my head high. I was in good spirits because I don't know why, but it was just like I had this sense of relief that I had got fired from the job. Like it was a burden lifted off my shoulders. And I knew that something big was about to happen for me. I didn't know what it was. I just had this feeling. Like I just knew. I couldn't really explain it, but I knew something was happening. And I don't remember what video I made, but I remember I made a video like speaking about this same situation. And maybe 2 weeks later, me and my girl, some of her family stays where we stay now. And so we was blessed with an opportunity to basically we was basically blessed with an opportunity to go move out there and work out there, right? Her cousin hooked me up with a job working at a temp agency. And so we basically had secure jobs if we moved out there. And so when I hear this opportunity, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I get to move out my mama crib. I get to basically be making more money, better money, and I get to go to a whole new state. Why on earth would I say no, and why would I wait? Right? I'm like, let's go today. We move to a new state, and we start working, we start doing things, doing what we had to do, saving up money so we could get our first apartment. And so like a month later of us moving out here, we ended up getting our first apartment. So I ended up leaving that specific job, and I started working at this different job, and I started working at this other job. So basically the job that I was doing was like apartment maintenance. So I started at this one location, then I got transferred to this other location. It was freaking terrible. The apartments was roach infested. I'm like, I had to just keep it real with the manager. I'm like, look, man, you want me to go in here and fix these people, kitchen sink and change their sink faucet out and stuff like that, but they got roaches all under the cabinet. No, I'm not doing that. Because for one, I've never even replaced the sink faucet a day in my life. So I already got to go in here and wing it, but then you want me to go in here and wing it? They got roaches crawling on the wall? I'm not doing that. So I told her what it was. Boom, that was that. So then one of my other homeboys, he was already out here, and he was doing apartment maintenance too, but it was for a completely different company. And I was like, okay, well, let me check them out. So I was trying to get on at the property he worked at, but they didn't have no availability. So long story short, I ended up getting on at this other property. So it was just like a job that was time consuming, right? Like I knew how to basically take as long as possible on whatever task I was doing to make the day go by. Because throughout all these jobs, all I'm thinking about is, man, which one of these videos is gonna go viral so I can start monetizing this content and I don't have to work these jobs no more. Then boom, so I'm working at this job, I'm still making my content. I'm upwards of, I got like 300K on TikTok right now, still making my YouTube videos. Then TikTok Shop came out. So I started being a TikTok Shop affiliate. And then like my videos had started going like super viral. So I'm looking at my payouts from TikTok Shop and I'm like, I done made like 10 bands this month. So this is the first time I'd ever seen the 10 bands in like any of my accounts. But it's the first 10 band month I ever had. And so I think it was like for like 3 months, it was like 8 bands or 6 to 8 bands. Then it was like 10, then it was like 12. And I was like, okay, you know what? Because then something happened at my job. Basically, we ended up getting new management. We ended up getting before I ended up making this move right here, I'm gonna tell y'all. We ended up getting new management. So basically, without explicitly telling you why or the ins and outs of what went down, they basically demoted me. Without literally demoting me, but they basically demoted me. So I was no longer really even doing apartment maintenance. I was just strictly like the cleanup guy, right? Like doing trash and this, that, and the third. And I kid you not, the stuff that they had me doing was just literal busy work, right? So a lot of the stuff, they would be like, my maintenance manager, the lead maintenance tech, he would be like, did you do this or did you do that? I'd be like, yeah. And I'd just be lying, like. And so one day, after like going through the motions with this stupid schedule that they had me doing, just stupid busy work, I sat in my car on my break, and I was just contemplating, because like every single day I was like, this is gonna be the day I leave. This is gonna be the day I leave, right? So I ended up putting my 2 weeks in, I think. Yeah, I put my 2 weeks in. But within that 2 weeks, I think I only made like 3 days. Because I was sitting in my car on my lunch break, and I think our lunch break is only like, did we get an hour or did we get 30 minutes? Either way it goes, I like double my break. I was sitting in my car probably for like an hour and a half or something like that. But after sitting around thinking, I realized that, bro, for one, I've been sitting here this long and don't nobody even know it. So you know what? I'm gonna just leave. And I did. I just left. I'm like, you know what? I'm gone. I'm leaving. Like all day at work, because I'm doing my busy work and stuff like that. Because I basically was working by myself, doing maintenance and stuff like that. You just to yourself. You just have your set task. You do your thing. So I'm listening to all this personal development, self-improvement content. I'm just listening to all this stuff, just reprogramming my mind for success. And I ended up leaving. The TikTok Shop money starts running out. Because what I realized looking back in hindsight is I didn't have a proven system with TikTok. Going viral is not a proven system. So if the videos ain't still going viral, then the money's gonna slow down. If the product itself is not viral, the video might not go viral. So that's kind of what happened to me. The product that I had was already super viral that I was promoting. Then my videos was going super viral. Then they was running ads on the videos. But once the product itself stopped being so viral, my videos wasn't going as viral. The money starts to slow down, right? So essentially that's what happened. I'm like in this rut. So I ended up having to get another job. And I'm like, bro, I just knew that this was gonna be the time where I figured things out to where I didn't have to get another one. But I did. And this leads me into phase 5, which is gonna be like transformation or rebirth or whatever we're gonna call this phase, but this is the next phase. So I start working at this job, right? And I was blessed. Like this is a key gem right here, right? If you are trying to escape the rat race, but you have a certain skill set that you want to use and monetize to help you get out of the rat race, get a job within that skill set, right? So I knew that inherently that I wanted to basically make money for myself, be my own boss. So I got a sales job. Well, I actually had 2 jobs, 2 sales jobs. I did door-to-door for a day or for 2 days, I think. I can't remember, 1 or 2 days. But basically it was 100-degree heat. We knocking on doors left and right. I'm throwing up outside. I'm like, bro, y'all ain't gonna see me again. So the next sales job I had was in a call center, you know? That was like, okay, that's much more my speed. You know, sit at the computer, make calls all day, uncapped bonus, unlimited overtime. I'm like, sign me up. So I go to the interview. I ace the interview. I'm like, knowing that this is gonna be, I'm knowing I'm gonna get the job, basically. They hit me up, boom, I start working this job. So I say that to say this, basically the skills that was taught at this job, sales, communication, those different types of things, they would inherently help me with my content creation journey. And even more so as I've been at this job, because I'm still there, I've been realizing that they teach principles from the author, John Maxwell. So if you've never heard John Maxwell, he's an author. He's written almost 100 books, right? He teaches about teamwork, leadership, personal growth, all these different things. And so at different facets of the job, depending on like what your role is, you'll be taught from someone lessons and principles from one of these 3 books. And so I was like getting mastermind information from people who are making more than me and stuff like that. So I'm like soaking up game while I'm at work, and I'm applying it into, you know, my content and my side business and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, this is a 2 for 1. Because once I leave this job, I'll be able to take something with me, right? As opposed to me like leaving UPS, is like, what did I take with me? Some back pain. You know what I'm saying? Leaving the hotel job, what did I leave with? Nothing, right? So inherently, I was like, if I'm gonna have a job that I know this is gonna be the time that I get here, or this is gonna be my last job, it's gonna be something that I can actually benefit from. And also in the midst of me like working at this job and being in this phase, I wanted to call this Rebirth for a specific reason. Because if you're not new to my channel, you're familiar with my content, you understand the space that it was in, right? Self-improvement, you know, red pill, dating, all this different type of stuff, right? But I had a transition phase, like I had an awakening. I had a new awakening. Y'all fast forward back to, you know, like phase 2 or 3, when I was saying that I was on the spiritual journey phase, right? I went super, super far down the rabbit hole of just spirituality. I was all over the place, read a lot of books, watched a lot of content. I was all over the place with the knowledge. But one day I had a realization that it really just didn't get me anywhere. I had all this knowledge and information, but I couldn't really, you know, define my beliefs. I couldn't really tell you what I truly believe. I was real far off the deep end, right? Like if you know who Billy Carson is, I was watching a lot of his content and stuff like that. So my spiritual journey just took a lot of basically tosses and turns. But one thing I did do was just like, let me put these books down, let me put these creators down, put all this content down, because these were basically the idols that I had at the time, right? Like I get all my philosophies from either some book or some content creator, and then I take all that in and basically formulate it into my own belief system as a result of what I've accumulated from other people and other books, right? Nonsense, not sustainable, not, you know, fulfilling, because you always seeking for more. It's always gonna be more to learn. And I'm the type of person who loves learning. So it's like, bro, it's an endless cycle leading me nowhere. And I actually realized that. So what did I do? I actually opened up the Bible. Now I come from a Christian background and things of that nature, but when I was younger, I just felt like it was religion, it was forced on you, and you didn't really understand it, right? So I'm just like, I kind of disowned it a little bit, but never really having prior knowledge and prior experience myself with just reading the Bible and getting an understanding for myself. It was just like, wake up, it's time to go put some clothes on, go to church, things like that. And it was just like, the way that religion was kind of spun to me, or the way that I understood it at the time, was a whole bunch of sets of rules. Like, you can't do this. All I remember hearing about religion and Christianity was just, you can't do this, you can't do that. It was just, in my mind when I was younger, it was just a whole bunch of stuff that I couldn't do. And everything that y'all telling me I can't do is what I do or what I want to do. So I'm just like, how is this for me, right? But looking at hindsight, I really kind of just started putting the pieces together, and I kind of just started going and taking this journey for myself. And that's what's been the most liberating for me, because throughout the 5 years since I started my spiritual journey, and just now recently converting just fully to Christianity and just staying within that frame of mind, it's been infinitely more liberating than just going down this rabbit hole when there's no end to it, right? So that's another thing. Like, I really honed in this faith. That's why I call it Rebirth. I really honed in on my faith journey, and really tried to just see how I wanted to present myself. So that's really the main reason why I just kind of took a break from just content as a whole, because the things that I was talking about didn't directly align with my current beliefs. And so I just basically had to refine myself and see what I wanted to do and what I wanted to talk about with content. And so that's why it was just a lot of basically absence on my end, because I was just like figuring myself out and stuff like that. I was working a lot more, so I wasn't really making as much content and stuff like that. But that was kind of just the phase. So basically, I know we 50 minutes into the video at this point, and you're like, I'm just not telling you where I've been. So that was just kind of the course of things of where I've been, right? I just went through this awakening phase in me basically giving my life to Christ and things of that nature, and really honing in on that and building that relationship up. And I knew that I still had a love for content and wanted to make content. It was just me figuring out how I wanted to present myself back on camera again. And so fast forward to the month of March, which is last month. So we're gonna kind of skip a little bit ahead so I can basically tie all this together. I don't want to talk to y'all, too long. If you can't sit and watch an hour video, put your phone down some and, stop endlessly scrolling and just be still and lock in. But if you still stay throughout this entire video, drop a comment about your favorite phase that taught you something. This is gonna be the last phase that we talk about, and this is gonna be, what do we want to call this phase? I'm not sure what we want to call this phase. Maybe we want to call this the solution phase. That's the word that popped in my head. We're going to call this the solution phase. Or maybe we'll call this the egoless phase, right? Whatever the case may be, whatever. Y'all can find a name in the comments, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. Listen up. So I started this new Instagram page, right? Because I was like, I got to figure out what I want to do, but I know I want to make some money online. I know I want to make some money from my phone. I know I want to make some money from content. So I started seeing these creators, making this money off of digital products, and they selling digital products, and they doing this, master resale rights. They reselling these big courses and stuff like that, done for you digital products. I started getting invested in all that. And so I wanted to start my Instagram with the purpose of, doing that. Started my own little digital marketing, digital product business, and running with that, right? And so I'm just scrolling on my Instagram Reels one day after 2 weeks of probably, running content up on this account, starting to get from scratch. And then I see this reel from this creator, and he's a faith-based creator. It seems like he was making some business content or something like that. And whatever he was talking about at the time, it resonated with me. And then either that same day or the next day, he ends up reaching out to me. And we start, chopping it up. So long story short, I end up booking an onboarding call with him because he's a coach, right? And so I end up booking this call with him, talking to him about my story, talking to him about my content creation journey, how I've basically built this audience, I've improperly monetized it, I got this job that I'm trying to escape, this, that, and the third, and he's basically presenting to me, I got this solution, this, that, and the third. So basically we start working together. I invest in his coaching program and his mentorship. And so like I said, this was the second week of March. So it's almost going on to a week, if not already, almost going on to a month, if not a month of me working with my coach. After working alongside him, even in just this short amount of time, bro, I've gained so much clarity and insight into my position, and I'm just rejuvenated in terms of what is about to go down in the next 3 to 6 months. So a key takeaway I've realized is mentorship is one of the first things that you should invest in. Because like I told you, I started making content in 2020. We would be having a completely different conversation if I invested in mentorship in 2021, 2020. You know, if I had been invested in mentorship, we would be having a completely different conversation right now. Because the one biggest takeaway that I've learned in recent times is I was making content with the intention of just building an audience. How can I have the biggest, following? How can I get to 500K on TikTok? How can I get to my first 100,000 subscribers? How can I do this? It's all about the numbers, these vanity metrics, right? So now I have the mindset of I should have been looking for the monetization approach, because that was the end goal. The end goal is not really to have 50,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers. That's a byproduct of the end goal. The end goal is to quit my job and be my own boss. So the approach that I should have taken was like, how can I properly monetize my audience instead of solely focusing on how can I grow my audience, right? And so this is kind of some clarity and some things that I've been working with my coach about, and we've been basically working on something together for me as well. And so just throughout this entire process, it's like giving me so much clarity to the point where, as you can see, I'm back making my content. I'm back on TikTok. I have a new Instagram that I'll put down in the description and in the comments so y'all can follow that Instagram to kind of, catch back up to what I'm doing currently and what I'm speaking about currently. But everything has come full circle for me, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Because if you don't learn the lesson in the situation that you're going through, you're going to go through it again and again and again, right? And I've been blessed to go through situation after situation and learn the lesson, finally. But I'm not mad at myself. I take accountability, but like I say, I'm not regretting anything. I'm not regretting any decisions or anything like that. So fast forward to now, and it's like you couple that right there, me investing in mentorship. I've been working on my relationship with God. I've been consistent in the gym 4 times a week. Starting this bulk journey, I want to be 200 pounds in the next 3 to 6 months. So that's like, I got to put on 30 pounds. And so I've been real intentional about these things. We're, working on my relationship. Like, I've been intentional about all these things, basically how to escape the rat race so I can finally say, I quit this job and I know for a fact that I'm not going back to another one. And so that's basically where I am currently, right? I'm just enjoying this process because the one thing that I was missing, I finally have. Well, the 2 things that I was missing, I finally have. That's mentorship, and that's a proven system, right? And those 2 things, you'll get both of them. You basically, by investing in mentorship, you'll get the proven system, depending upon, what field you're in your life. But basically, that's how it happened for me. As soon as I invested in mentorship, I was revealed to the proven system was revealed to me, rather, right? And so all I have to do is fit what I'm currently doing into the proven system and take massive action. Because with something that's proven, if it doesn't work, that means it's something I'm doing wrong. It's not something something that's wrong with the system. It's something wrong with my implementation of the system. And so throughout this entire process, I'm so rejuvenated, I'm so liberated, I'm so empowered at this point because it allows me to finally reconnect with you guys. Finally build that connection back up with you guys, put you guys on game. Now we get to the good stuff, bro. I told you that you need to stick around to the end of this video because I got something very, very special to present to you. And what I present to you now is the Kingdom Masculinity Mastery one-to-one mentorship. This is an exclusive mentorship where you just work with me, right? You work with me to become the best version of yourself. Become the man that you've always wanted to be. Because maybe you started the journey, but it's something missing, right? Like maybe you have the financial freedom, but you don't have the physique that you want. You don't have the relationship with God that you want. You don't have the dating life that you want, right? Maybe you got the physique and you're missing one of the other pieces, right? Maybe you got something, but you're missing something else. You get what I'm saying? So this is for the men who just struggle with their confidence. Maybe you got the looks, maybe you got the physique, but there's still something on the inside that's missing. Maybe you struggle with the communication with women. You just don't know how to talk to women, right? You don't know what to say. You don't know how to keep the conversation going. You don't know how to set up dates with women. You don't know basically how to find and attract high quality women. because you're not a high quality man yourself. So you just don't know how to piece all the things together to become that high quality man, to attract that high quality woman. Maybe you're tired of working the job that you're at, or you're just in a situation that you just say that something just has to change, and you're looking for a way to start making money outside of a job so that eventually you can quit your job. You're looking to just have full control over your mindset, over your emotions, over your lust, but you just don't know where to start. You've tried this, you've tried that, but there's no real consistency. There's no real predictable growth in the things that you're doing. You're just kind of just out there trying to figure stuff out. But what if I told you that you don't have to try to figure anything out? That I will work exclusively with you to help you and guide you into becoming the best version of yourself, to becoming a leader, to becoming a dominant masculine man that women just flock to, so that you can build your relationship up with God, and that you can find the woman that you want to build with, so that you can build up that internal confidence in yourself and value yourself enough so you have real self-worth, so that you can set high quality standards for yourself and not tolerate disrespect from other people, not feel like you need a woman in your life or you need something materialistic in your life to be content and to be fulfilled and to be happy. Just think about the dream life of who you really want to be. Think about that and then really envision that and let it sink in. What do you look like? Who do you hang around? What are you doing? How do you operate? Who's around you? How much money are you making? Where are you living? What are you doing? Where are you? What are you driving? What impact are you making on the world? How are you serving God? Write it down. Now, as you write it down, you'll sit back, you'll reflect, and you'll think about it. You'll get happy, you'll get excited, but you'll be wondering, well, what do I do next? But there is a version of yourself. There is a reality that you can live within, where everything clicks, where everything flows, where you're in full alignment with the best version of yourself. And everything that you are attracting is a direct reflection of that, because you made the simple decision to choose to become the person. See, this transformation isn't gonna work if you're trying to do it to get the girl, if you're trying to do it to get the money. No. Because as soon as you get the girl or the money, you're gonna fall right off. You have to do this inherently because you want to become the person, because you want full transformation and full control over your life in every aspect. And I have the direct systems, the mindset, the blueprint, the action step that you need to take in order for you to create this dream reality and become the best version of yourself. So if any part of my story resonated with you and you're ready to take action today to become the most masculine, confident, attractive, and financially free version of yourself, I invite you to apply to work with me one-on-one in my 12-week coaching program. So if you're really serious and you're ready to take action today, click the link in the description, book you an onboarding call, and let's get to business.